Howdy. Allow me to explain myself.
This is gasoline. And gasoline is a chemically processed form of oil. And oil is what is known as a non-renewable resource. And I'm sure you can guess what that is.
So what's your point?
A non-renewable resource is, of course, a resource that is used and cannot be recycled or reproduced for that matter.
So you see, buddy, we're about to use this non-renewable resource. Permanently use it. That's right, you'd never get it back.
Listen, I don't know who you are or what you're trying to sell me, but
Well, you see...
When gasoline, which is essentially a combination of hydrocarbons, is burned, it releases CO2 and other gases into the air. These gases are referred to as greenhouse gases, which, in far too large a supply, cause a gradual warming up of the Earth's temperature.
Alright, well, I don't have time for this. I gotta go. You know, just
Wait.
leave.
Now hold on a second. I've got something to tell you, buddy.
Now, the heating increases over the years. Technically, this happens and has happened throughout history, all the time, normally. But in the last 50 to 100 years, this sort of event has occurred, yet in far greater proportion. Recent evidence points to emissions caused by gas-fueled machinery, such as your car, to be the leading contributors to this phenomenon, known as global warming.
Okay, so? Well, don't you get it? You're using gasoline, a fossil fuel, and by doing that, you're wasting a precious resource and the environment around you. It's a lose-lose situation, my friend. You need an alternative. If you'll allow me to elaborate.
Nuclear energy, or atomic energy, is the release of energy through atomic fission, or fusion of the atom. Nuclear fission is when an atom is split into smaller parts, striking nuclear fuels that cause a chain reaction and release energy into a nuclear reactor at a power plant, where the energy is converted into electricity and used for a wide range of purposes. Beyond the obvious, electric power, nuclear energy contributes to agricultural production through the use of isotopic radiation. For radiotherapy and cancer treatment, monitoring the toxic substance level in food, water, and air, and for sterilization. Many of the positive aspects associated with nuclear energy include its lack of emissions into the environment, making it much more eco-friendly than fossil fuels. Also, a single plant emits a large amount of energy, which can run for between 500 to 700 days before being refueled. Now, nuclear energy, of course, isn't completely perfect. The radioactive waste is usually reused for nuclear weapons, and also have to be carefully watched over for 10,000 years to make sure they don't cause any radioactive damage. And of course, they take ages, sometimes 20 to 30 years to construct, and are weakly defended hotspots for terrorist attacks. And sure, the installation of power plants leaves a risk of nuclear meltdown, as the procession of nuclear material into electricity is a volatile and dangerous process. The meltdown of Chernobyl in Russia and the close call at 3 Miles Island back in the 70s come to mind. But
Face it, pal. Nuclear energy is the way of the future. There are already 104 functioning power plants in the United States, and that accounts for 19.6% of the nation's energy. And now, thanks to the whole go green rage these days and nuclear energy's friendliness towards the environment, there's no doubt that it'll replace oil as the #1 source of power in the future. So, what do you say?
I don't know. What about like another resource we can use, like solar energy? Well, when you put it like that.
That's right, buddy. Oh, by the way, I've got something for you. It's a legitimate 100% rod of uranium. Just pop her in the trunk of your car and she'll work just like a jiffy.
Gee, thanks. But what about the possibility of nuclear meltdown?
Oh, please, don't be silly. I mean, this has only happened twice in the history of mankind. The first time was at 3 Miles Island out east. And that was back in the 70s. Now, what happened wasn't a legitimate meltdown. It was just a really close call.
You want me to throw us in the trunk?
Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, the other occasion was in this place in Russia called Chernobyl. That was in the 80s.
Right.
And despite the fact that the entire area is totally uninhabitable now because of the meltdown, you get the point, right?
Yeah.
Russia, for example, just look at the way they handled their own uprising. You know, the whole Russian Revolution. What were they thinking?